I'll kick off by just kind of asking the very basic kind of fundamentals question, which is deliverability feels scary. People don't know where to start. They hear different things from different providers. They don't know how much is on their side, how much is on the sending company's side. So I guess I'll start at a very high level of just saying, how should a team who's not super familiar with what deliverability even means think about trying to optimize for deliverability for their brand?
Well, there are two parts of the story, and the one side is the tech setup. That really has to be on spot. That has to be done perfectly. So that means the authentication, the setting up the SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. I mean, that's also since February, that's a requirement by Gmail and Yahoo Mail. So that's a German colleague in email marketing. He, I think he compared it to, that's the entrance ticket to get you into the nightclub. But once you're in the nightclub, you have to behave. You can't just shout around and not listen to anybody, especially when they tell you to shut up. You better stop sending email then. Otherwise, you very quickly land in the spam box. And that's the more strategic side, which is once you've mastered the technical setup, that's the even much more important side, because the days of the broadcast emails are over from my point of view. You now have to engage with your audience, and you have to send things that are interesting enough that they will open your emails and click on a regular basis. Otherwise, you probably won't be delivered into the main inbox.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess to unpack maybe a couple pieces of that. So you talked about SPF and DKIM. Do most providers have functionality to take care of those pieces internally, or do folks need to go externally to do that? Like if someone hears that and that just sounds like gibberish to them, SPF, DKIM, I don't know what the heck that means.
Yeah. Well,
how do they address those?
So you have to go into your IT person needs to go into the domain settings, the DNS, and set up the SPF and the DKIM, and then set up a DMARC policy, of which there are 3, but it's very getting a bit too much into detail. But that's, it is indeed something that you need to set up yourself, but there are really good guides usually, like ActiveCampaign, for example, has all the guides you need that someone who is familiar with DNS can set that up very easily.
Yeah, got you. And then what is the implication? So you were talking about some of the recent changes and the obviously the importance of DKIM and whatnot. Is there any volume component to that? Meaning that I think I read at some point, it's like if you're sending more than 10,000 messages or something as an example, what happens if I'm a brand new person starting out? Let's say that I don't follow best practice. I don't set up any of these pieces and I just kind of start sending. Is that a fast track to the spam folder, or what does that look like for a new sender?
Yeah, I would say it's a fast track to the spam folder. I think it was 3,000-4,000 per day, something like that, maybe 5,000 emails per day, which they set as the limit. But I think, you better get this sorted out. Even if you send, even if you are only sending a couple of hundred emails per day, it's still super important to get the DMARC set up correctly. And the SPF and DKIM is a requirement to have a working DMARC record. So essentially your DMARC needs to work. And there's a very easy way to find out whether it works. All you need to have is a Gmail account. So you send yourself a test email to your Gmail account. Then you open the email, you click these little dots, click on view source, and then you see at the very top, you see where the SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, whether all these pass. And if one of these things has a fail or doesn't pass, then you gotta put some work in to make these things pass.
Yeah, that's super helpful. That's an easy way that folks can approach that. Talk me through, sometimes there's a lack of understanding between someone sends a message, they're sending out their email blast and things don't get opened. And maybe the email didn't deliver. Maybe it landed in spam. Maybe it landed in promotions. Sometimes I think that the nuance of that gets a little bit skipped over. People are like, oh, I have bad deliverability or I'm not delivering. when maybe they are delivering, but they're landing in promotion. So can you help navigate or maybe talk through what the differences are for folks who are maybe not as familiar between landing in spam versus landing a promotion versus not delivering at all, and what might cause some of those different behaviors to happen?
Yeah, it's always a good idea to keep track of your statistics to see whether your open rate is dropping. Because if your open rate is dropping below 20%, maybe if you're only getting 15%, 10% opens, then that might be an indication that something is wrong with your deliverability. And then you should do some additional testing. Like, for example, I would recommend to have that you set up your own free email accounts like Outlook, the main ones, Outlook, Yahoo, Mail, and Gmail, and send test emails to these, or ideally include them when you send out the big blast. You include these test accounts in the sending, and then you check, did they arrive? Did they go to spam, or what's happening? And if you're seeing your emails going to spam, then you have to do further digging. You can also use a testing tool, like there's Glock apps, for example, or a free one is Warmy, which allows you a limited test, inbox placement test, and just see if there's something going on. The thing with these testing tools is that they test your email as cold email. So naturally your spam rate should be a bit lower, because once you get some interaction going and people are opening your messages and they're clicking your messages, naturally they will land in your inbox more. So that is something to keep in mind. So it's the bare minimum what these tools are showing to you. But yeah, once you notice that something is going on, then you should further investigate. Yeah, I mean, we can also talk about possible solutions. I always like double opt-in, using double opt-in, because that in the States, you're not required to use double opt-in. So you can't just, when somebody signs up on your website, you can start sending them emails, and that's not a problem, legally speaking. But the double opt-in, what it's good for is that the first email you're sending them, they have to open and click it, this email. So in order to receive further emails from you. And that interaction is already a signal to Gmail and Outlook and all the others that you want these emails. So you have a much better chance of getting the rest of your emails delivered.
Subscribe to our channel below for more content like this. And to try ActiveCampaign free for 14 days, visit ActiveCampaign.com.